Alright, so I've done a few things while we were on break. Thank you guys for your patience. First off, I shot an HDR, not an HDR, but a panorama really fast. And obviously there's lots of errors. I shot it with sunset color temperature. Doesn't matter. It's good enough, and the first thing that you need to know is that you have to shoot a lot to figure out how you're shooting incorrectly. So next time I'll note how to do that and other such things. Now I've brought this into Blender, and you can see one issue, which is it's oriented slightly different than our footage. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this world. And so I think I want input, object input? Is that right? No.
Yeah, just normal texture input. You want the generated.
Texture input? Texture coordinate?
And then you want the generated.
And then I want to map that. And now I can rotate this on the y-axis. I mean the z-axis.
Whoa, did that node just scoot out of the way?
Yes.
Yeah, they do that.
Welcome to Blender.
Wow.
And I think I can also move this up or down. Nope, no I can't.
Where you can theoretically actually.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you just have to do it in centimeters. So I can do something like that. Well, let's see, on this frame, I'm just trying to get this kind of lined up. Let's go with that.
One of the great things you'll notice about HDRs is that if the camera moves, they suddenly, the illusion breaks.
Uh-huh. Yeah. We're not so concerned about that. We're just trying to get like reflections that are going to look accurate to this. So eventually this is going to be something where instead of having this background HDR rendered, we're going to be just sticking this on top of our footage. But I do have like a small setup to start off with. So I mapped that out. I stitched it in Huggin. And in a perfect world, I would actually use multiple and have brackets and have a very fancy one. And I can bring this in. You can see the node set up. The environment texture is going to the background. Because it's a crappy, TIFF or something, I just increased the strength. It's not going to have accurate shadows. And then I'm using a mapping node to rotate it and move it up in space a little bit. So now, we can try rendering this. And everything's broken. Or not? Hey, I actually got kind of okay shadows off of a JPEG. Oh, I think it's rendering these on like different layers. Wait a second. Oh, that's so cool. So I think when you do the generate scene, it actually does this, shadow catcher setup for you. Cool. So here we have, oh, it even has the movie clip. So here's our movie clip. Here's our render layers with the scene, and here's like our other one. And I think, apparently this. So this sphere we would want to be on this layer. That's cool. I love auto buttons like that. So if I render that again. Here's our objects with a matte, and I think they'll have like an alpha channel. And then here's like their fake shadows. Now if you wanted to get the shadows extrapolated from that, I think there's a way you can do this where you would render a third layer that is this ground plane and not these images, and then you would take this plane where it has the ground plane plus shadows, then the render layer where it's the ground plane alone, and subtract it, and then all of a sudden you have a shadow pass.
Or I think there's just a shadow pass built into cycles.
Yeah, maybe. Alright, point is, now you can start having fun with this where you say, I don't know. Now I'm just messing around. Point is, you have stuff that you can start sticking together and have a live action composite, right? So let's talk about bullet physics, which is what we really want to play with. Alright. Everyone ready to do something more fun than this? I love bullet physics. I'm going to scale this plane up. And let's switch our layout to be the default. So the first thing we need for bullet physics is, I guess, an explanation of what it is. Bullet physics is a rigid body simulation. It's an open source code library from, I think, Sony, and therefore it's in all sorts of programs now.
Not from Sony.
Not from Sony?
Sony did some work over here.
Well, they might have contributed to it, I wouldn't be surprised, but the core developer now works for Google, and we're handling it.
Pick a side. Are you for Sony or anti-Sony? Sony is the best camera. Sony didn't help on Bullet. Just become a blind zealot or a blind hater. There is no middle ground in the world of the internet computer graphics. Oh yeah, let's do introductions. By the way, my name is Oscar Beckler. Should have introduced myself a while ago. I know most of you guys, so yeah, I've been running this for about 7 years now, and we have a lot of fun. And I occasionally successfully record videos. So I also teach here at Lake Washington Institute of Technology in the MMDP program, and also the art program, where it's a lot easier. You just draw pictures. Who else do we have?
I'm Zuri Greer. I'm a student at Kennedy and been using I've been using Blender for like 4 years now, or something like that. That's me.
I'm Joey. I'm Joshua. I am a professional software engineer, and I do video game art on the side for independent projects.
I'm Dean, I'm the noisy guy in the back, and I dabble with Blender very unprofessionally.
Aaron, I'm just an enthusiast.
I'm Alan. I'm retired, so it's just something fun to do. Retired software.
I'm Melissa. I'm a mathematician, and just getting started in Blender. I'm hoping to maybe use it to do some fun stuff for instructional videos.
Yeah.
I'm Matthew, and I'm an artist. I will be showing some of my Blender art next weekend at the Greenwood Art Walk, which is Friday evening and Saturday afternoon.
Bob, he's Blender for designing keyboards, which I haven't produced one yet, but working on it.
It's on its way.
Like piano type keyboards or computer type
I
keyboards?
integrated a mouse, optical mouse and keyboard, so the
Oh.
whole thing moves,
No, interesting.
and I have 2 patents.
Paul Braggett, retired and playing with Blender.
I'm Ryan. I've been playing with Blender for a couple of years.
I'm Andrew.
I'm a student here in game design, and I've been playing for
My name's Charles. I've been using Blender for a couple of years, trying to make video games a solo project. And it's pretty good.
Hooray! A finer group of people than I've never met. Alright, so let's do Bullet! Bullet's cool. And Bullet is really, really fun because it's very easy to get good results and fast results and like exciting Kerplosion results. So just to show you the basic version of it, I'm just going to create a cube. I'm going to pull it up here. I'm going to rotate it so it has like an interesting corner to fall. And we just need a relationship between this plane and this cube. So this cube, I'm going to say rigid body, and that creates the Bullet rigid body thing there. And on this plane, I'll do the same thing, but I'll change it to passive. I'm also going to change their shape. So I want these to be box, because these are very simple shapes. So this one, instead of being convex hull, I will say box as well. And what do these different shapes mean? Well, you can kind of tell if you need every single detail, like a horseshoe, you would want to use the whole mesh as its own rigid body, or maybe a proxy mesh. So like if you have the most detailed 60,000 polygon horseshoe ever, you might make a horseshoe cage that is just the general shape of it, parent one to the other, and then you run the rigid body simulation on the low one. Convex hull is going to just try and basically wrap your object in a sack, and for a lot of things that's all you need. So something like a fire hydrant that would work great on.
Well,
Cone cylinder, capsule, sphere are all pretty much self-descriptive. Capsule is something you use on ragdoll simulations, so you have several capsules for each chunk, I think. And box is the simplest and fastest. So if I hit play, nothing happens because we're not on frame 1. And there you have it. It's simulated. Not very exciting, but pretty cool. Let's move it up even more.
There's something really weird about looking at that camera moving like that.
Yeah, it's looks like the vibrating lady on The Ring.
Oh, yeah.
When she comes out of the TV. That's still a reference people get. Alright, so let's do something more fun. Let's do multiple cubes, and this is my favorite way to do that, which is we're going to start with one cube. We're going to scale this down so it's small, so that we can have lots and lots of them. And I'm actually doing one thing unique, which is I'm doing my scaling in edit mode, but I'm doing my moving about in the 3D viewport. And the reason for this is because you want your objects, the rigid body is going to use the center of these objects, so you need to keep your object origin correct. And then also, the scale is something that just, when in doubt in 3D, don't touch the scale. Have the scale at 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Otherwise things break. It breaks on rigging, it breaks on simulation. Scale should always be 1 as often as possible. So now I need to have lots and lots of cubes. And for that we're going to use the array modifier. We're going to set this to, say, 20. Let's do 20. And I'm going to put a tiny amount of offset in here, so 1.01. And you'll notice that puts a little tiny little space in between these. And that'll mean that, first off, you don't want these planes to be intersecting, because usually that means if you have planes that are intersecting, like Nightcrawler teleporting into a wall, it can't figure out how they're going to interact when they hit each other, because normally they would interact by hitting each other and then bouncing away. So if they're already intersecting, it doesn't work. And you have to keep this in mind if you're doing it on, again, a more detailed mesh. I'm going to add another array and basically do the same thing, but in a different direction. So I want the relative offset to be 0 on the x-axis and 1.01 on the y-axis. Now we have cubes going this way. Very exciting. And now I will add an array for the last direction. Oh, 0. Now I have a cube made of cubes, right? And I want this just above the plane. So if I ran this now, doesn't matter. We have to get the simulation set up. This is going to work incorrectly because the origin is so weirdly in the corner. But it doesn't matter. We just need this as a starting point to break this into many, many, many cubes. So the way you do this is now I'm going to start applying these.
Are you sure you can't just use make duplicates real? And
I don't know. Let's make duplicates real.
That would be for instance.
Control A and make duplicates real.
Isn't that just for...
No. I don't know. Here's what I end up doing. I just apply all the arrays, and then in edit mode, I hit P, which is the separate menu.
Yeah, no, that doesn't work.
Normally you would say by selection if you're doing something like you have a mesh with a character and you want the hair separate from the head. But by loose parts means that each of these cubes are going to be their own object. And therein lies a new problem, which is you're going to notice they're all going to use the starting origin. Because it's as if the object is a container and the mesh is what's inside that container. Each one is using the same container right now. And that might be right for this starting corner cube, but not this one way over here.
You transform origin to geometry.
Yep. And then Blender crashes. Maybe it crashes. Start closing some of this stuff. Maybe it's just loading. Come on, Blender, you can do it. Maybe it can't.
How many duplicates are there?
20 by 20 by 20, so.
Yeah, that would be 400 and 400. That would be 80,000?
Yeah, it might be a little much.
No, that'd be 8. Yeah, 8,000.
Come on, Blender. Should I give up? Who says I quit? Any votes for
You
quitting?
can just leave it in the background.
Yeah, let's launch a new Blender. That's the solution.
Perfect.
I don't know if I saved anything from this. No, I didn't. Okay,
Can you do recover auto?
maybe. .4? That looks pretty accurate. Hey, alright.
Yay.
Go away, stupid one. We don't like you anymore. Alright, so on this one, we have not yet applied this. Let's maybe set it to 10.
Maybe save the scene.
And save beforehand. Scaling in edit mode so we don't mess up our object scale. And let's save this. Let's also rotate it. I'm not going to rotate it yet because I want these to be one other thing. Okay, now let's try applying. Apply, apply, apply. Alright, that time it worked. So now, each of these is their own object. But the problem is, they're, like I was explaining, they're all using that same object container with its origin down here. So that's what we want to change. And if we go to Object, Transform, Origin to Geometry, each of these are going to use their individual geometry to have their origin. So their chunk is right in the middle. Now one thing that sucks is I don't think I had my rigid body constraint on this, but that's fine because it shows the proper way to do this, which is, let's say I just have one of these selected. Let's set up the rigid body to be correct. We want it to be active, and because we don't want these to initially fall on each other and then like land, we want them to act as if they were at rest. I'm going to also enable deactivation and start deactivated. But the problem is I have it on this one cube, and we don't want to necessarily go around applying that to everything, right? So if I scroll all the way down and I select all these cubes, and then lastly I select this one, so that's the last object in my selection, then I can use copy the thingy to the thingy. And I don't know where that is, so I just always hit spacebar and say copy copy rigid body setting. Did I save? No. So now all of these are going to use that first one's thing. They're all set to active now, and they're all set to enable deactivation, start deactivating. And they say, and they're just sitting there, right? So now we need something to come mess them up. I'll rotate this a little bit so it's a little more interesting. So now we need something to smash into these, right? Let's select a UV sphere. And let's set this to also be a rigid body. The best option for this, because it's a sphere, is sphere. I'll smooth these. My urge is always to like have this be on the shiny material. So if I hit play, it doesn't do much because we need more weight. It does do a lot. It's pretty cool, right? And you can see it's sort of loading, and then it'll go fast on the next playthrough.
Although a lot of that's due to the cube not being that stable.
Yeah. I mean, probably like all of these, once that hits, because there's not a lot of space, they all like bump up against each other. So what I like doing is to make this happen even more. Oh my god, it changes. I didn't know you could change the, switching the metric also changed the mass. Cool. So let's set it to 200 kilograms and replay. Again, for simulation stuff, you generally want to go from the start. And now it's really going to show them who's boss. Wow.
Let's look through the camera.
And there you have it. So now you might want to create like proxy objects over here for the elevator tunnel, stuff like that. And again, how do you mess with scale on stuff that's this difficult? Well, one thing you could do, let's say, select all these. I could scale all these towards the origin. Famous last words. And now I just want to apply scale.
Hey.
Fine. You guys need to be gentle on me. I'm a Maya user now. Barf. Apply scale. So now they're back at 111.
It's easy because Maya has no hotkeys.
That is vicious.
That pissed me off so much. I was looking in the menus. I'm like, why doesn't it tell me in the tooltip what the hotkey is? Then I found out there just were no hotkeys.
Yeah.
I was like,
They also have bad tooltips.
yeah, that too. I'm tutoring for that class, and oh, just hover over this one. Let's see what it says. And
Woo.
the bounding box for a tooltip shows up, but no tooltip shows up. Like, great.
Alright. So now the really fun thing to do is you hit play. And you just manually go around like this.
And that just works out of the box? Or?
Yeah, and even better than that, I think there's a way you set this so that it can use animation. It might just automatically use animation.
I think you have.
Maybe if it's
one of the checkboxes. I think.
dynamic animated. Maybe if we set it to passive. So what we're gonna do now, this is the cool way to do things. I'm going to turn on auto keyframe. Oh yeah. And I'm gonna say no sync, and I think there's a way to change like the frames per second. Frames per second, Joey, Dean, somebody shout at me.
It's right next to your mouse,
Yeah.
right. It's frame rate.
Older.
Frame rate. Hey. Okay. It's a custom frame rate of 5 per second. So now it's gonna play really slow, and therefore it'll give us a better recording of this. Alright. Alright, let's see how that looks. Hello, cubes. Just a happy puppy dog spear. I just want to come over and smell you. Boop. Boop. And boop. So that's really fun. It's, I don't know. Doesn't this just make you happy? It's so instant feedback of like smashing things. Anyone have like questions about Bullet? Cool things.
What else are we going over today?
I don't know. Does anyone else want to show stuff? I think that's it for my stuff.
Matthew's got some with the printed things.
Do you want to go first, Matt?
Because I was just going to ask about if we have time to do ragdolls. It should be cool.
I think like I can try and bring that next time. I don't have like a pre-made one. But yeah, ragdolls are cool. All right, up next, Matthew's gonna come talk about it's cool prints.
I have this one. It's a 18 by 24. It's printed on metal. I used it is a default cube image. I have two particle systems in here. One is a line particle system. It's making the orange and yellow lines, and then the other one is a default. It's a cube that's being with a particle system that's being broken up after it's been subdivided and then given a glass shader. So that's given the background more geometric background.
I have a quick question. Can we turn on the light so we can see better?
Sure.
Well, there's that light right there. If you're immediate.
Well, that's not going to do it. Never.
Okay, there we go.
Also, you're going to be surprised when it comes in.
So, and I went online and found Large Metal Prints has the best deal on
Large metal prints?
largemetalprints.com.
No, I'm saying on large metal prints.
Yes.
Yeah, on Large Metal Prints. So, this is the biggest one I've done so far. And have a vase, which is a. Which way? This is a diptych. They do fit together. And this is also a line particle system. This size print is actually I figured it out per square inch per price. This is the best, this size right here is the best size for price wise. So if you get them together, make two prints, put them together, then you're doubling up on your price. So,
Very nice.
thank you.
Cool.
How much you gonna be selling them for? You
I
haven't
was-
thought about it yet.
I was thinking of this big one, two to 250, and the smaller ones, what, about 100.
I
hope
Does
you
that
do
reasonable?
well. I hope you do well.
I've got some 4x6s that I didn't bring, and I'll be selling those for 20.
Cool.
Maybe,
Anybody else? Got a cool
Seattle
thing?
could, sounds reasonable.
Cool project to show? Anyone else? Wanna come up?
It's so bright.
Sure stuff. What was your name again?
Ryan?
Ryan? Cool.
So, come on, you don't have to